Let us get started. Good evening. I am Reverend Ineta Adesanya, and I serve as Willamette University Chaplain and Director of Spiritual and Religious Life. It is my pleasure to welcome you this evening on behalf of the university and the Salem Peace Lecture Committee to this 32nd Annual Salem Peace Lecture. Let me begin by acknowledging that the city of Salem and Willamette University were established on the land of the Kalapuya, who today are represented by the Confederate tribes of the Grand Ronde and the Confederate tribes of the Siletz Indians, whose relationship to this land continues to this day. We offer gratitude for the land itself, for those who have stewarded it for generations, and for the opportunity to study, learn, work, and be in community on this land. We acknowledge that Salem's history, like many others, is fundamentally tied to the first colonial developments in the Willamette Valley. We respectfully acknowledge and honor past, present, and future Indigenous stewards of this land and community. This evening offers us an opportunity to engage with possibly the most critical issue today, the climate crisis, and all that we now know and recognize that is upon us. This is an opportunity to learn and to consider how we will be with one another, how we will live together in the face of this global environmental demise. Our speaker, Winona LaDuke, is a longtime advocate and steward of the earth and comes to us with a wealth of Indigenous insight and inspiration. Our honorees, Delana and Russ Beaton, are longtime local stewards of peace worthy of recognition. You will hear more about their work soon. This event is made possible by generous support of the conveners and sponsors whose names are listed in the program. We acknowledge them and offer our sincere thanks and appreciation. This event is moreover made possible through the work of a small group of volunteers that make up the Salem Peace Lecture Committee. Many of these volunteers are included on tonight's panel. This year, we've had 2 retirees from the committee. Karen Wood served on the Peace Lecture Committee for 9 years in her role as University Chaplain of Willamette. And Pratam Rohila served as a faithful and impactful member of the committee for many years and as a former honoree and recipient of the Peacemaker Award. Now, as I read, please receive this earth prayer by Black Elk of the Oglala Lakota tribe. Grandfather, Great Spirit, once more behold me on earth and lean to hear my feeble voice. You lived first, and you are older than all need, older than all prayer. All things belong to you. The 2-legged, the 4-legged, the wings of the air, and the green things that live. You have set the powers of the 4 quarters of the earth to cross each other. You have made me cross the good road, the road of difficulties. And where they cross, the place is holy. Day in, day out, forevermore. You are the life of things. Hey, lean to hear my feeble voice. At the center of the sacred hoop, you have said that I should make the tree to bloom. with tears running, O Great Spirit, my grandfather, with running eyes, I must say, the tree has never bloomed. Here I stand, and the tree is withered. Again, I recall the great vision you gave me. It may be that some little root of the sacred tree still lives. Nourish it then, that it may leaf and bloom and fill with singing birds. Hear me, that the people may once again find the good road and the shielding tree. Black Elk. It is now my pleasure to introduce to you all Peter Burgale, who will present tonight's Salem Peacemaker Awards. Peter.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Anita. Thank you so much. And I'm very excited this evening to be welcoming Winona LaDuke, even virtually, to our community. If you were to look up the term power couple in the dictionary, you know, you'd find Russ and Delana Beaton's pictures looking out at you. Usually that term applies to people who inhabit the upper strata of society and influence, but that's not the sense in which I'm using the term. For 60 years, Team Beaton has been a self-starting engine of community improvement, first in California, then in British Columbia, and now for more than 40 years in Salem. They have enriched our community in a great many ways through their service activities, their educational contributions, and their many experiments with better ways to live in community. Whether the subject is local economics, serving the homeless, energy production and consumption, land use and development, chairing the city club, or growing more productive trees, one or the other of the Beatons, or sometimes both, have been involved in seeking and demonstrating the best practices. Truly, their work illustrates the principle of thinking globally while acting locally, which is what it says on this Peacemaker of the Year award, which on behalf of the Peace Lecture Committee, I am thrilled to present to Delana and Russ Beaton.
Thank you, Peter. Can you hear me? Russ and I wish to thank the members of the Salem Annual Peace Lecture Committee. We're deeply honored with this award and a little stunned too. So in that spirit, I guess I should probably begin by dealing with the elephant in the room. If you can see me, you'll see that mostly half of my face is purple. I chose yesterday to do a trip and fall and put my face up against a chunk of concrete. And as you can see, the concrete definitely won. And I do see the irony of appearing at a peace lecture looking very battered. It was... I assure you it was totally an accident, and it is getting better. Thank you. Russ and I moved as a family with our children to Salem exactly 50 years ago in the fall of 1971, so that Russ could accept a full-time position with Willamette University as a professor of economics. It's been a wonderful community for us and for our kids. We have found the greater Salem community is filled with very kind and generous people. And it has become very clear to us that as needs become clear, people appear from the community to try to meet those needs. Each of us has an opportunity to find what area we feel we can serve in best. And that way, every member of the greater Salem community can be a part of the solution. My mother used to say to me, Delana, you're in every situation, you have a choice to be part of the solution or to be a part of the problem. And so choose wisely. It's amazing how those comments from our childhood tend to stick with us. As I looked about our home, I found a source of inspiration is our refrigerator door. And so I would like to close by sharing some wisdom from our refrigerator door. First, from Martin Luther King, our lives begin to end the day we become silent about things that matter. From Mahatma Gandhi, live each day as if you know you are to die tomorrow. And perhaps the most eloquent, try to be the kind of a person your dog thinks you are. So thank you very much.
Well, like Delana, I want to thank the committee. I'm deeply honored and a little surprised. I know that she deserves it, but as an economist, I begin to wonder about myself. Because I think about my chosen discipline, I see three characteristics that have dominated economics as we have known it in recent years: competition, growth and expansion, and individualism. Then I think about the opposites of those terms. It's competition versus cooperation, growth and expansion versus sustainability, and finally, individualism versus a sense of community. And I find that cooperation, sustainability, and community sound far more like characteristics of a world that I would like to call peaceful. And this world right now, in my opinion, faces two existential challenges. First is the one we are going to address tonight, probably in more detail, and that is climate change. Second is the rampant growth and inequality of income and wealth. I would like to submit that I doubt that we can solve either one of those problems or deal with them really effectively without dealing with the other as well. One of the elements of our current culture that most irritates me is the notion that the economy and the environment need to be in opposition to each other, and that you cannot do effective work in one without hurting the other. I think that's a ruinous idea. And I would like to leave you with this final thought. We will not have much progress in creating a peaceful world until the disciplines of economics and ecology are brought closer together. In my ideal vision, until they become one. I presume that we will hear a little more this evening from our speaker on variations of this same idea, and I'm as eager as you are to hear that. So I will close by saying thank you again. I'm deeply humbled by this honor, and whatever I do with my writing or my life as a proud citizen of Salem from here on, I'll try very hard to live up to this award. Thank you again.
Well, congrats again to Delana and Russ Beaton on this well-deserved recognition. My name is Danny Santos, and I'm honored to introduce our speaker for this evening, Winona LaDuke. It's a great evening, and it's wonderful to have this event in November as part of National Native American Heritage Month. Winona LaDuke, her name Winona means first daughter in Dakota language, and she's a member of the Gmo tribe. Winona has a bachelor's from Harvard and a master's from Antioch, but she's no stranger to Oregon, as she grew up in Ashland, Oregon. Her mother, Betty LaDuke, is a well-renowned artist with connections to Southern Oregon University and Willamette University. Winona is the author of several books, including Native Struggles for Land and Life and Recovering the Sacred. She's the co-founder of Honor the Earth, a Native organization providing financial and organizational support to initiatives that directly address Native environmental issues. LaDuke's current efforts to promote a just transition to a greener path are deeply rooted. Having run for vice president on the Green Party ticket in 1996 and 2000, in the year 2000. She was a leader in the 2016 Dakota Access Pipeline protests and is currently actively opposing the Enbridge Line 3 pipeline in Minnesota as a water protector. Winona resides in White Earth Reservation in Minnesota, where she has her hemp and heritage farm, a nonprofit organization that seeks to create Indigenous women-led economy focused on producing local food, energy, and fiber. Tonight's lecture, entitled Indigenous Strategies to Address Climate Change, focuses on Native efforts and strategies to address our climate crisis. Please welcome Winona LaDuke.
Can you hear me okay? Good. I'm honored to be here with you tonight. As Danny said, I'm up here on the White Earth Reservation in northern Minnesota, and I'm happy to talk to you about the moment that we are in, and I'm also honored to be here with Russ and Delana. I really liked what Russ said. I'm also an economist by training, and I think you're spot on, Russ. And I am going to talk about some of the same things. Now, in just short time, I'm going to try to share up my screen, okay? Let us pray that works. Can you see this? Perfect. Okay, there. Big picture, right? All right. So look, this is me and my community. This is not my mother's art behind me. This is the art of my cousin, Terry LaDuke. And, my village is in the middle of the White Earth Reservation. This is Pine Point, and this is a HUD housing project that was built in the 1950s. But I live in the Creator's territory. I live in the place where there's all wild rice all around and lakes and trees, and it is a beautiful land, not unlike Oregon, but it is a good land. And my ancestors lived here for a very long time. This is our wild rice. A lot of people don't know, but wild rice grows, looks like this. It's a lake. At a certain time of year, Menominee-Gizus, in August, the lake covers with this. And that is not a pasture or grass, that's wild rice. It's the only place in the world it grows. And in order to harvest wild rice on a lake for 10,000 years, which is what my ancestors have done here, you have to just take care of your lake, make sure that pollution doesn't get in it, the water levels are okay, and pray and be grateful. Just be grateful that the Creator gave you such a beautiful gift. Well, there's a lot of conflict over the years, and this is kind of the conflict that I think is exemplified by the two creatures here. One is Sitting Bull and one is Custer. And, the situation we're dealing with today and the moment that we're in now is a moment that has a long history in the making of conflict between who should have and who can take and how we live here, But the impact is significant. You all live in Oregon. This picture could have been from Oregon. Let's just be honest. We live in a time of catastrophes of biblical proportions. You got fires to the west. You got polar ice caps melting to the north. You have political disasters to the east, and to the south, you have hurricanes and all kind of crazy things. The situation we're in is unprecedented, and then add to that that we are in the midst of a pandemic. You know, we are all praying to get our way through, but we just lost another person in a chief of police in my village, you know, just passed, you know, same thing. So look, I think of what Arundhati Roy, the great Indian writer, says. She talks about pandemic as portal. And she says, in the history of the world, pandemics have always forced societies to change. This one is no different. You know, it is a portal between one world and the next. She asks us, what do we want to carry through the portal? Do we want to carry our hatred, our avarice, our data banks, and our dirty rivers? Or do we want to walk through clean? Do we want to make something beautiful? Look, this is what we live in now. You know, climate change is going to be more and more expensive, and it doesn't look like Bezos and Musk really want to, or Richard Branson really want to take care of this. Looks like they all want to go to the moon. So best plan is to keep your resistance up and make something good. So I spent 8 years fighting this pipeline that they just shoved down our throats. And they shoved it down in a cruel way. And this is Enbridge. Enbridge is a dirty corporation from Canada, the third largest corporation in Canada, and its business is moving dirty tar sands oil into the United States, and this is where it goes. I'm over there by that Clearbrook to Superior sign. That is line 3, but line 3 is joined with lines 1 through 6. Line 5, 75% of the tar sands come in through these guys. And really, the planet is burning up, and we don't need any more Canadian tar sands oil. This pipeline is the equivalent of 50 new coal-fired power plants, and we're going to keep fighting it. So this is me, my friends, our winter. I have, a lot of us got arrested. Almost 1,000 people were arrested in Minnesota trying to stop this pipeline. I myself have charges in 3 counties. You know, I'm not a criminal. I'm a water protector. And all of these people are water protectors. And these police here standing on my driveway, blocking in people, those guys are paid for by the energy corporation named Enbridge. In Minnesota, the corporation had to pay for the police. And so repression was incentivized. Repression was incentivized because you could get paid to do a lot of time as a police officer. This is what my last year looked like. And this is what resistance looks like. You know, we have courageous people taking over the Army Corps of Engineers outside. And this is my family. These are some of my grandchildren standing there on these horses, or being there on these horses. And this is me, you know, in my arrest there on the Shell River. I'm one of the Shell River 7. There's my get out of jail. Let's get LaDuke out of jail. Now I'm talking to the choir here. I'm sure a few of you have faced charges like these, like trespassing and critical infrastructure. But I'll tell you what, I want a way out. I think it's time to move into the just transition, to move into the economy that we can live with, that's based like on Earth, peace with Earth. That's exactly what Russ was talking about. One that's based on cooperation, not competition. One that's based on reaffirming relationship with place and all relatives, whether they have wings or fins or roots or paws. One that's based on sustainability, not individualism. And one that is based indeed on thinking for the generations ahead. I call this the Sitting Bull Plan, not the Marshall Plan, not the Green New Deal, the Sitting Bull Plan. We could call it the Green Path, because in our prophecies as Anishinaabe people, we are told that we would have a choice between 2 paths, one well-worn and scorched and one green. This is the Green Path. All right, this is my farm, my team. About went crazy with these kids today. And, you know, I've been homeschooling a bunch of kids since the pandemic because the reservation schools are closed down off and on every few weeks. So here you go. This is my girl team in my field. We are growing heritage varieties of corn, beans, squash, potatoes, Jerusalem artichokes, and hemp. We're putting this stuff in with horses and cultivating with horses because I'm interested in post-petroleum economies. I think that we've had far enough fossil fuels in our lives, mine itself, and I think it's time to move along. The crops that I grow, well, they're pre-petroleum and post-petroleum. There's my grandson out taking me racing. That's on the lake right by my house. That's how we live here. So look, what am I telling you? The next economy is a lot more local food and it's a lot better for you. The time of the Pillsbury Doughboy is over. Move along, go to your local farmer's market or grow some cool potatoes. Did you know there's like 900 varieties of potatoes? Grow some potatoes. These are from Peru, Potato Museum. And I grow 19 varieties. Purple's my specialty. But look, you know, they're looking at potatoes and climate change because all those varieties, you know, the Irish potato famine should have taught us that what you want is biodiversity, not a monocrop. So get some biodiversity, grow some cool squash. This is a cool squash that we grow called Gete okosaman. We named this squash. And this squash came from real old seeds, like 800-year-old seeds. And it keeps for a very long time. And it's like twice the protein, high in magnesium and all kinds of special trace minerals, good things for you. And never really had a fossil fuels life. It was always raised organic, so it's smart. We grow corn, all these varieties. So rebuild a food system that's local with heritage varieties. Learn how to create as much local garden space. I'm preaching to the choir. You're out in Oregon, you know how to do this stuff. Keep it up. That's how change is made. You know, get the big industry out of your food system. Grow some hemp. Here's me and my little hemp farm. And this is what our hemp looks like. Now I know Oregon is all full of cannabis. Well, you guys, you should be growing this stuff. Make some houses out of it. Quit smoking all your fields up and putting in cannabis when you could actually grow some food and some of this. You need to grow more food and less THC, in my opinion, Oregon. And I think it's a big problem out there because it's propelled by greed, not by need. This is what you need, the real revolution. We call this the new green revolution. And look, you could quit clear cutting in Oregon if you just put in enough hemp to use to beat the paper industry. That's what you could do. You could quit taking down Oregon's forest by putting in hemp. And then we could get the fossil fuels out of our clothing by doing cool stuff like growing hemp instead of slathering ourselves with fossil fuels, whether it's in cotton or in those nylons and all that stuff we buy these days. And then build some stuff. I'm really, really interested in hemp insulation, timber frame housing, and but our work is mostly in the fiber varieties. I'm interested in rebuilding a fiber economy in Minnesota and making some houses. This is our fiber, and this is where it went. I primarily sell my fiber to Navajo rug weavers who are making high quality rugs with North American hemp. But one day we should do this. This was Minnesota in the 30s, 11 hemp mills. You know, the word canvas comes from cannabis. The word canvas comes from cannabis. All that canvas in Oregon, that's what we could do. New green revolution, that's what we need. And then last part of this is let's get some solar. We build solar thermal panels here on the reservation. This is our facility. And you can save 20% of your heating bill. Could get a lot more renewables out there for sure. And then we could quit wasting energy. No point putting in a bunch of renewables if you waste 58% of your energy between, well, the point of origin and the point of consumption. Let's get efficient, get local, pedal your bikes out there, power your houses on something local, and just get a little more simple. You know, we're all fossil fuel addicts and we gotta like lighten her up a little bit. Here's your answers. A lot of the answers come from the Northwest. I like these guys. This is called Solutionary Rail. Maybe y'all heard of these guys. But these guys, you know what these guys do? They figured out that you could power electric trains, and that'd be so much better than all those highway miles with trucks, you know? Move a little less stuff too. You know, maybe we should think about what we import into those ports anyway. It's like 200 ships off of the cargo ships off the coast of California right now. Maybe we don't need all that stuff. Anyway, rebuild the rails because that's the way to go, not the passenger cars. Far more efficient. Metal on metal is better than rubber on the road. And in the meantime, make it all electric. Don't be all backwards. Look at this. Here we are, the United States. I think that's embarrassing. Italy, 64% electric trains, US 1%. We're the most backwards country and for a first world country imaginable. So let's evolve. Let us put our minds together to see what kind of future we can make for our children. That's what Sitting Bull said. Let us put our minds together to see what kind of future we can make for our children. That's us. Let's make that future. This is Winona Leduc. She put in solar up in her village up in the middle of the tar sands. Her master's thesis, Winona Leduc's master's thesis. She didn't do a review of literature. She put up a solar project. And there's more of them to come. These are Navajo projects. But here I am, back in our little village. Now I'm telling you these stories because I figure if we could do it, anybody could do it. Really. And so let's just do it. And in the meantime, rebuild things, make things make sense. I know you got some ports out there in Oregon. This is a picture from the Port of Duluth. The question I'm trying to ask myself is, why is everything made someplace else? If we need it, we should make it. We should rebuild the industrial infrastructure that we need in this country. Make a sustainable economy. This is wind turbine parts coming into the Port of Duluth, furthest inland port. So it's some tough sledding ahead of us, my team. We're in a tough spot, but the Creator has placed us in this spot. So it's up to us to do the best we can and pray hard. I like this. I like these slides. These are pictures that are by Dr. Emoto. He passed away. He's from Japan. But he talks about here the power of prayer. And water crystals all have different colors, different shapes. And it turns out that when they get pollution in them, that they look not so pretty or symmetrical. But look, if you pray, you can see the Fujiwara Dam photos. You can make things better. Pray hard. Do your best and do a little better. Pray for Mother Earth. The rights of Mother Earth should supersede the rights of corporations. That's what you need. You need to make laws that make sense, not make money for corporations. And deconstruct the mess of colonialism while you're all at it. That'd be some work for us. That's my future, my retirement plan right there, those young women. Take care of them and let's take care of each other. Anyway, Miigwech, thanks for your time. Happy to say a few words and really congratulations to Russ and Delana tonight.
Watch some of this another day. Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Ms. Leduc, for that thought-provoking, insightful, and revolutionary talk. I am Charlie Wallace, one of Reverend Anita Adesanya's predecessors as chaplain at Willamette, and I'm also a founding member of the Peace Lecture, the cooperative community of Salem people, institutions, and organizations who make tonight's conversation possible. And I assure you, Ms. Leduc, and all of you webinar attenders, that You have lived up to the high expectations set by previous speakers, folk like William Sloane Coffin, Helen Caldecott, Jim Wallace, Dolores Huerta, and many others. Thank you so much for being here with us. And I'm sure that many of our attenders would love to engage the ideas you've laid before us this evening. So here are some brief instructions for the good of the order on how to be part of the conversation. To ask a question, you will need to call. If you haven't done that before, and look for the Q&A button. It might be hidden behind the 3 dots. As you type in your questions, we will have a team of folks behind the scenes sorting and aggregating similar questions. And once that's done, Chaplain Adesanya, ably assisted by her intern, Rachel Schmidt, will pose the questions to our esteemed speaker. While these questions are starting to come in, let me talk to you for a minute about, you guessed it, making a donation to the Salem Peace Lecture Fund, that stash of cash that allows us to bring peace lectures like Ms. LaDuke to our city, whether virtually, as we are tonight, or physically in person, as in the past, and hopefully next year. You should see a link in the chat on your screen that will take you to a PayPal page where you can make a donation. If you can't find the chat, look around the edges again on your screen. It's probably at the bottom. And the icon looks like a speech bubble. It may also be behind the 3 dots. We are also hopefully showing you the link on the main screen to the PayPal site in a split screen at this time. So let me tell you why I think making a donation to the Salem Peace Lecture Fund is the best way for you to spend $50, or maybe even $500 tonight. As you might have noticed, this is the 32nd annual Salem Peace Lecture. That means we've been working to make Salem a more just, equitable, and peace-loving place for a full generation. On the strength of donations from various Salem organizations, institutions of higher learning, and religious congregations, and from individuals like yourselves, we have brought ideas and perspectives that might not have otherwise come our way. And the struggle for a truly peaceful, just, and sustainable world is, of course, ongoing. So we would love to invite you to share your time and efforts with us, as well as a bit of your treasure to keep this work going in these difficult times. No donation is too small to continue the good work of our group, to plan the next peace lecture, to make good trouble for good causes. And so whether it's $5, $25, $50, or maybe even you can afford $500, I can assure you, whatever donation you can make tonight will be money that is well spent to assure that thought-provoking, revolutionary conversations about social justice and peace continue in Salem. So thank you for your time. And now please continue sending in your questions for Winona LaDuke. And Chaplain Adesanya will now begin with questions that have already come to her desk.
Thank you. Thank you, Charlie, so much. Just a reminder that the link for donations has been reposted in the chat for your convenience. And before I offer some of the questions that are coming in, I noticed that Ms. LaDuke, Winona is already answering some of the questions live. And so feel free to, or typing those answers in. But before we jump to another verbal question, I want to acknowledge that we have 2 Willamette student groups who are holding watch parties right now. And so I just want to give them a shout out, and we'll lift up any questions that they submit. One is our, oh gosh, let me see if I can find it. One is our Native and Indigenous Students Association, and the other is our climate, I'm going to get the name wrong, but our climate
Action Alliance.
Action Alliance. That's the kind of intern one needs. Climate Action Alliance Students Group. And so I just wanted to acknowledge them. The very first question that I'd like to propose to you, Winona, it says, I think we should, how are tribes utilizing the court system to stop line 3? What do you think is the best avenue for change and resistance?
Well, that's a really complicated question. We just spent 8 years fighting this. We did not miss a regulatory hearing. The system was skewed from the beginning. And what you have is what's called regulatory capture. That's when a multinational corporation, a Canadian multinational corporation, takes over your regulatory process, your Public Utilities Commission, your Department of Natural Resources gives away 5 billion gallons of water in the biggest drought in the history of the state, and without a single hearing. So the system was hijacked by Enbridge, and they are trying to hijack the system in the entire Great Lakes. So we have been in every form of litigation, and the most promising litigation is the case that was filed by Monoman or Wild Rice in tribal court. And it was filed in tribal court against the Department of Natural Resources, where the tribe said that Wild Rice and the tribe said, look, the DNR has mismanaged the Wild Rice, has mismanaged its responsibility. And so that case, the DNR, Department of Natural Resources, appealed to federal court, and the federal court ordered the state back into tribal court. We have a very big set of challenges here. I believe that this corporation should be dogged and should be followed. I believe that tar sands are the dirtiest oil in the world and do not belong in this country. They do not belong out of the earth. They just belong in the earth. And I believe that we should quit exporting oil, because I think that we should keep the oil in this country and start using a lot less.
Thank you. Thank you for that answer. One of our members, the next question, would love to hear more about the specific importance of biodiversity in building a sustainable and local economy.
Well, in these times of climate change, you need to grow more than one, you need to grow different varieties. And so for instance, in the potato varieties, what I noticed is that this year, some potatoes were hit with a blight and some were not hit with a blight. And if you are trying to feed people, you need to have some ability to have some food security, which is best secured, in fact, by biodiversity. And as well, a lot of attention to your food, like act like you actually love your food, not that you feel entitled to it. And that's probably a good way to start, in the garden, the humility of understanding that this is a gift and it is your responsibility to take care of the gift. But I noticed that our corn varieties are, we grow a Mandan variety. I picked for a drier variety from the west of us, thinking that it is supposed to be drier summers. And I've had very good crop success. And so I noticed that the GMO crops or the hybrid crops, they don't have, well, the GMOs particularly, they don't really have a brain. They have a robot in there. They have a gene put in there. And so they're not so smart to adapt in climate change. They don't adapt as well as my squash or my I'm going to get a squash. I've got one right here. Now this is a Lakota squash. And again, very resilient. This squash will keep, we'll say that this squash will keep like for 5 months. That's the other reason you want to grow these kind of things, is that they're keepers. You keep them up in a dry spot. I got the whole upstairs here in my study is full of squash. All right, must be another question on there besides my squash questions. But, you know, look, I spent a lot of time fighting an energy corporation because they're wrong. But really, at the same time, we fight what's wrong, but we make what's right. Always do the right thing, you know, because if you're just going to spend your life hoping someone's going to fix it for you, you won't be very happy with the results.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Next question is, what is your advice for Indigenous youth who want to become activists for the environment and human rights?
You know, there's a lot of places to do something right. Pick one and stick with it.
Okay.
You know, I mean, there's no easy answer to that. I listen to people talking about human rights violations or rights of nature violations everywhere. You know, I see a couple of people in here. We're talking about, you know, being out here in North Dakota, be a water protector. That's the other thing I would just say is be a water protector. People were out here, you know, they saw what happened with Apple. You know, I think that, and then the Dakota Access Pipeline battle of the 2016, and then this year, you know, another brutal battle, you know, over a pipeline in our territories. And then, of course, you guys had the Jordan Cove battle out there in Oregon, and they still got the Trans Mountain battles, you know. I think it's really time to, you know, recognize the birth of this movement of water protectors and the importance of that movement. So, you know, continue to support us by being a water protector wherever you are. And in the case of some of these big strategic battles, you know, stand with us. You can keep track of us online with Honor the Earth, honorearth.org.
Okay.
And the Green New Deal. I see a question on that. Look, I am writing a whole book, which is really called it's called the Sitting Bull Plan or the Eighth Fire. And you know, the Green New Deal is a manifestation in a political term of a lot of these ideas. It's a good start, you know, but I really believe that it is everybody who has a responsibility to change the world, not just governments. And so social movements transform governments. Social movements transform the world. Be the social movement. Be the people who are, you know, building local gardens and local food systems. Be those people too. So many opportunities to do good things. You know, just pick it up, roll up your sleeves, and do something. You know, be like my mom. I just saw her, 88 years old. She is out there trucking around, you know, down to the border last, upholding the beauty of the farm workers movement. I mean, you know, we should be lucky to live to be 88 years old and able to tell stories and paint still, you know.
Yeah. Another one of the questions is a good follow-up to that, which is someone saying that they watch the water workers and their heart fills with joy and want to know what they can do to support the water protectors. And, you know, assuming if they cannot become one, how can one support the water protectors is the question.
Well, everybody could be a water protector. If you're not a water protector, I don't know what planet you're on, because this is the planet where there's water. So try to be mindful of the water. Like, do things like don't use all the plastic single-use containers. Make sure that your water is good. Fight off bad ideas that contaminate your water. I mean, basic common sense things that one should always do just to make sense, because we're all water, you know. But aside from that, so, you know, you could do that in Oregon. You could do that just fine in Oregon. There's plenty of places to do that, you know, and there's a lot of ways to, tell our stories, because our stories are your stories. You know, these are the same stories of you know, not only people in dignity, you know, but also how we work to a place where we are in you know, cooperation, not in competition.
Not in competition. Yeah. Do you see the next question? What do you say to older people sitting on the sidelines waiting for young people to solve the climate emergency? Not sure the author of that question.
I say, get up. You know, I got arrested with 6 other women. I said, grannies, let's go. You know, I'm 62 years old. What, you know, I'm not gonna have a bad mark on my resume. It's okay. You know, you know, I consume those fossil fuels. Stand up, be responsible.
Okay. Get up. Would it be possible to purchase seeds for the squash Miss LaDuke showed us? Ha.
Yeah, you know, this Baker seed catalog sells those seeds, you know, and I was just thinking that we have a lot of seeds that we should sell some seeds because a lot of people want seeds, you know. So I was just thinking the same thing here like yesterday. Because I mostly yeah, but Baker Seed catalog has this, and a lot of like Johnny's or Seed Savers. You guys have cool seed catalogs out there in Oregon. You know, remember, not everything I can grow, you can grow. I mean, you can grow a lot more because you have a longer season, but these are also hot, dry things. I don't know. I don't know if that's fair to say. You guys could grow anything.
Yeah. Are there ways to continue supporting the resistance to line 3, or is that, what's the current?
Yeah, you can support us through honorearth.org. Did I mention that? Okay, so look, there are almost 1,000 people charged out here. We want justice. I want my charges dropped. I want a medal.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying is that, so we're fighting with the water protectors, fighting for the water protectors for justice, you know, because it's totally insane what the state has done and they shouldn't be able to get away with it. And then there's the continuing crimes that Enbridge is committing. And so our tribe and our organization continue to pursue every facet of this. In fact, we have a federal court decision that we have not yet received, and we have 2 federal court cases. So yeah, you could support us at Honor the Earth. We continue to fight in the federal courts, and then we are just filing the civil rights challenges because, you know, our civil rights were all violated, and a lot of people's civil rights were violated brutally. And you don't get to do that to people. This is not the, you know, this is the deep north. That's what they act like up here. And it's time to end the reign of the deep north. So yeah, you could support us.
Yeah. Rachel, let's put that link back in the chat one more time.
The Sierra Club helped us with it as far as environmental organizations. The Sierra Club and Earth Justice are the 2 organizations that have helped us in our work here. Earth Justice is our lawyers in the federal case. Yeah.
One of the panelists, if you can assist in putting that in the chat, I'd appreciate it. See if I can pull down another question. We have a few more minutes here. I think you've answered that already. Undrip, did you already reply to that? Is that correct?
She did not have a chance to yet, no.
Okay, so the question is, what are your thoughts on UNDRIP? Do you see this ever being adopted and being put into action by the United States?
Well, you know what? I like nations to do the right thing. So I'm going to hold up that we're going to keep evolving as countries, and the practices and the recognition of the rights of Indigenous people being human rights is really in everybody's interest, because if you want to save Mother Earth, you got to protect where the wild things are. That's where we live. We're 4% of the world's population and 75% of the world's biodiversity. We are the wild things. So you want to protect the world, you got to protect us. It's in your interest too. So we would hope so, you know, we would hope so. And, you know, the other thing I want to say is that I see one of these sisters here, I don't know, talking about being in Portland and, you know, reconciling with the contradictions of this society. Do your best. Do your best. You know, we just got to keep pushing forward. I wince, you know, I'm like probably a lot of people who are here in this call, I'm like super sensitive to like environmental degradation right in front of me, or some callousness of behavior. It's grates on me and is stressful. You know, do your best and try to keep evolving and be better and more mindful every day of how you practice and the example you show, and encourage your relatives to do the same and change your community. That's the way things are. You know, we could talk and talk and talk, but better to grow a garden, better to put up some solar panels, better to just use less, you know, do both. But yeah.
Yeah.
You know, thanks to y'all for, you know, your time here. And then people did ask, you know, look, the other organizations, like I said, the Sierra Club was helpful. And then the Earth Justice has been our lawyers, you know. A lot of people need to step up on some of these things. You know, right out there, you got that lithium mine down there at Thacker Pass. They want to put in over for, you know, in Nevada. And you know what we need is hemp batteries. Hemp batteries. You know what I'm saying? Is we got to move along. Recommend reading Drawdown is a really good kind of book. Paul Hawken a few years ago. I like that guy, smart guy. It's like a collection of people doing cool stuff. So just remember, there's a lot of people doing the cool work. Just be them. You know, I'm one. I got to hang out with y'all tonight, but it's just like your honorees, Russ and Delana. You know, people stand up and do the right thing and keep standing up and doing the right thing. And sometimes they get a black eye. That was really funny, my sister. I wish you a swift healing on that. But, you know, and remember, there's a lot of courageous people out there. And so be one.
Thank you, Winona LaDuke. We are so honored that you have spent this time with us, that you've educated us, that you've given us resources, enlightened us in many ways, many of us. And we're gonna do the work We're inspired. I'm speaking for myself, but I hope I'm speaking for others as well. And thank you to all the attendees who have logged in with us this evening, to the committee, to the panelists. We thank all of those at the university who helped us pull the technology together. And we'll see you again, hopefully in person next year. Are there any final words?
Miigwech.
Yes.